What's up, everybody? I hope all of you are doing well. This is part 2 of our fragrance discovery over the House of Zoologist. If you missed out on part 1, make sure to go check that one out. And in today's video, we are going to be talking about performance, longevity, and wearability over these 6 samples I have from the house. It's been a really enjoyable time experiencing a new house and getting to know their DNA, getting familiarized with the House of Zoologist and how their fragrances come across. So can't wait to do more in the future. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not yet. I greatly appreciate that. We make fragrance and fitness content on this channel, and I would love to have you part of this community. Now, I will be right back to talk more fragrance after the intro. First one we're talking about in today's video is the one I did not get a carded sample of, and it is B from the House of Zoologist. So hopefully you all can see that. But at the time of ordering this here, basically they did not have a carded sample. It was out of stock, so I had to go somewhere else to get my sample. And I feel like B from the House of Zoologist is a very nice honey fragrance. It's not the best I've ever put my nose to, but it is solid. It is solid. To my nose, this one leans feminine, and it reminds me of sticking my hand into a beehive and getting all the honeycombs out. That's what this vibe kind of reminds me of. But I get the essence of a queen bee with this, in a sense that this is a powdery beeswax, vanilla type of scent. And it is sweet as well. And it's interesting throughout the lifespan of this fragrance because I can picture myself with like basically some real fresh honey. So none of that synthetic type of honey. This is real honey that you would just go up, like I mentioned, and grab out of the honeycomb. That's what this smells like here. To my nose, it leans a little bit more feminine, but I really did enjoy my wearings of this overall. And I would say longevity of this fragrance is 12 plus hours. Performance, I would say, so basically how it projects, I would say it was over average. So it was solid. It wasn't something that was completely beast mode that would wear your nostrils out, but it wasn't something very faint like a skin scent overall. But this fragrance here, I would have to give it, from all the ones I tried from the house, I would have to give it a 7.8 out of 10. Like I mentioned, I feel like it was a very solid fragrance. I'll make sure to put the notes up on the screen for you because the only notes I know on top of my head right now are honey. I know there was vanilla as well. And then in the mid, it's got a lot of florals. I think one of them was orange blossom. But you could tell this one was a beeswax, vanilla, honey, floral, powdery type fragrance here. But overall, it was a fragrance, a honey fragrance that I haven't really experienced, in a sense of going from sweet honey to more of a powdery beeswax type of feel, which was very interesting. So overall, B from the House of Zoologist, not bad at all for sure. And definitely for the colder months, I would say in the summertime, this would be very cloying because of that powdery aspect it's got to the fragrance here. Next one, we got the Fuji Apple edition of Macaque here. So there it is. And this one really surprised me too. And before I continue on, I just want to reiterate that all the fragrances from the House of Zoologist are extraits de parfums. So just wanted to give you a heads up with that. So longevity is going to be very, very good over all these fragrances, even though if they're a freshie or they're a deeper fragrance overall. I was very impressed with the longevity on all these. So going back to the notes of Macaque here, in the top we got Fuji Apple, Juniper Berry, Olibanum Oil. In the heart we got Myrrh, Hinoki Wood, and hydrocarbon resin. Sorry, a little mouthful there. And then you got Oak Moss, Sandalwood, and then you got Olibanum in that base there. And to this fragrance, it was a fresh, sweet, fruity, woody type of fragrance here. it really appealed to my taste. It reminded me of actually seeing pictures if I had to look on the internet or on TV, because of course I haven't been to a jungle before, but it reminded me of seeing a monkey or a macaw, how you want to picture it, like a small monkey or something like that, eating an apple up on those vines, those woods in the jungle. That's what this really pictured, put the picture into my head of that, and it was really interesting because this at first really started out sweet, fresh, fruity, kind of what I mentioned with some of those accords. But then when this dried down here, really woody, that hinoki wood, the sandalwood came out. And overall, it was really appealing. This one, I would say you could wear any time of the year and it would work well overall. This one, to my taste, it was about an 8.2 out of 10. Really surprised me because, like I mentioned, I wasn't thinking about getting this fragrance originally, but when I saw it, I was like, and I saw the notes, I was like, man, I'm going to like this too. And I didn't really smell much of the juniper berry in this as well. I smelled more of that Fuji apple, but they did work well in unison in this scent here. And this was a well-blended fragrance. Projection, I would say about average. So it wasn't something that's going to like punch you in the face the whole time it's on your skin. And then I would say longevity of this, 10 plus hours off my skin. It was really faint around that time overall. But this one, I could see myself getting a full bottle of. I definitely would have to check out the yuzu version or edition of this fragrance because that is available as well. There is also another scent I want to try from the House Chameleon. That's one I did not get. But the Fuji Apple Edition of Macaw, 8.2 out of 10. Nice release. Very enjoyable to my nose and my taste. And like I mentioned, I could see myself getting a full bottle of this one here. So, Macaw. Next one here, we got T-Rex, so Tyrannosaurus Rex here. There he is, all dapper, dressed up. Kind of reminds me of a investigator, a private investigator. His little outfit there. But let's hop into the notes of this one here. So you got bergamot, black pepper, fir. You got neroli, nutmeg, and in the heart you got geranium, jasmine, osmanthus, rose, ylang-ylang, and in the base you got resin, cedar, civet, frankincense, leather, patchouli, sandalwood, and vanilla. Now, I will say, out of the first two I've talked about, this one, T-Rex, and B, they've been the most animalic. With the Macaw, I wasn't really getting too much of those animalics, but with T-Rex and B, I was, especially with T-Rex, man. That animalics times 10 with that civet note in it. But this one was a scrubber for me. 0 out of 10, not my style. And I'll be honest, this one's an earthy, resinous, smoky scent. So if you're interested in that, sounds interesting to you, definitely give this one a wear or a try. You know, check it out for yourself, see what you think. But for me, this smelled like an ashtray along with a trash fire. Both of those. So at first it smelled like the ashtray, and then as it dried down it smelled like a trash fire. This one was a scrubber. I did not like this one at all. It was like rabbit. I tried to wear that one, but I just couldn't. After a while I just had to scrub it off my skin. The performance, the projection is nuclear on this one, at least off my skin. 12 plus hours. The projection of it, you're getting throughout the whole fragrance lifespan, 3 to 4 feet. I mean, this was really pumping off of me. But around the 5th hour, I would say, that's when it went closer to a skin scent, so about 1 to 2 feet. But that first 3 to 4 hours, this one was pumping. It was something that was, like I mentioned, not enjoyable, not my taste. 0 out of 10. I would definitely not recommend this one, and I'll definitely not get a full bottle of it. But if you do like something that is very smoky, very resinous, earthy, and then also woodsy as well, kind of, if that sounds like right up your ballpark, and bitter. This is bitter as well to my nose. Definitely check it out because you might like it. It might be right up your alley, something you would like to wear and check out. So, and that's the thing with the Zoologist fragrances, you know, like some of them aren't my cup of tea, but there are some of them that are my cup of tea that I would consider getting a full bottle, and that's the beauty of fragrance overall. It just, everybody's nose works different. So T-Rex, not for me, was was kind of bummed out because that was one I was looking forward to, but I've heard a lot of things about that one as well, so no surprise there. Next one was Penguin. Penguin from the house. He's all ready to go on his boat and travel, it looks like, with the pipe in his mouth. But this one here, let's go over to some notes. A little disappointing for me, I will say. A little disappointing. So you got Antarctic Air, Isochord, Juniper Berry. In the heart, you got Pink Pepper, Saffron. And in the base, you got Sandalwood, Musk, Sea Moss, and Suede. Now, this one reminds me of when I went to the zoo when I was younger. And I did see the penguin exhibit, and it reminded me of that feel of being in that penguin exhibit around there, seeing the penguins swimming, walking on the ice, and all that type of jazz. This one is very juniper heavy overall. It reminded me of some aftershaves, some old school aftershaves. That's what this one reminded me of if I had to relate it to a real world like object or item or anything like that. But it did give me that vibe of going to the zoo, seeing those penguins in that kind of icy area, I guess you would say. And it did get off that cooling vibe. When I sprayed it on, it kind of gave off vibes of ice, which was, it's very cool. It was very creative as well. This one here, I am very on the fence with. I would say, if you watched the previous video, this one and King Cobra, I was really looking forward to a lot. This one I like a little bit more than King Cobra. And I could see myself possibly, with more time, liking this a little bit more. But overall, to me, this is a fresh, aquatic, and then also spicy type of fragrance for the chords in this one. And as this dried down, it got less fresh, it got less aquatic, and it dried down into something more spicy, which I did enjoy. The more this set on my skin, the better it was getting, in my opinion. So overall, the rating I'm going to give on this one is an 8.0 out of 10. It's something that I'm on the fence about getting a full bottle of if I wanted to get a full bottle added to the collection, but I would consider it. And for the performance of this one here, I would say 10 plus hours, kind of like the Macaw there. It was, that's how long it lasted. And then for how well it projected, I'd probably say 2 feet throughout the whole lifespan of the fragrance. This one didn't really pump off my skin, kind of like the T-Rex one. But overall, 8.0 out of 10. I think it's solid, and it was very surprising how much this changed from kind of being an aquatic, fresh, icy type of fragrance with that juniper berry in the opening, and then this kind of backing off a little bit and getting more spicy as it dried down. Overall, Penguin, a little bit below my expectations, but definitely I'm happy with this one. Happy overall. And for Penguin 2, I wanted to mention this one would be more of a spring, summer time of fragrance there. And in the fall, I'd say early fall. Possibly in the wintertime, like that's when I've been trying out all these fragrances. With Penguin, it would give you more of an icy feel. It would give you more of that kind of Arctic vibe, which, you know, it's pretty cool and stuff like that, but you kind of lose some performance with spraying it in the wintertime overall, at least to my testing with it. I really lost some performance because of how cold it was, and then when I went inside and I was in air conditioning, I could tell the performance was a lot different. And yeah, so overall, Penguin. Next one, we got Seahorse here. Now this one was very developmental off my skin overall, and what I mean by that was it changed a lot. It changed a lot, I will say. And this one, kind of going off similar vibes of Penguin, it reminded me of being in the aquatic area at the zoo and seeing the seahorses in the seaweeds or the sea moss, however you want to say it, and swimming around doing their thing, kind of living life, I guess. But let's hop into some notes of this here. So in the top, you got cardamom, you got fennel, and then you got amberette absolute. And then in the heart, you got clary sage, tuberose, neroli. And then in the base, you got algae, vetiver, and ambergris. Now, when this fragrance first was on my skin, this really pumped. It really packed a punch. Really gave you that sense of being in salt water overall. Kind of snorkeling kind of vibes with it, which was very interesting. But as this fragrance dried down, it was less salty, less bitter, I would say, and got more sweet to my taste. So, or at least what I was smelling from the fragrance off my skin. Overall, some accords in this one. I got some sand, sweetness, aquatic, fresh as well, and then a little spiciness in that dry down. It kind of changed tune from being salty, bitter to kind of sweet, a little spicy as well. I was very intrigued by that. And this is a very interesting aquatic. It does, for people that have kind of smelled the designer aquatics, this is very different from that, I will say. And it is a different surprise. I haven't really smelled anything like seahorse before, which is pleasant surprise for sure. I would say performance for a freshie, this one kind of hits it out of the ballpark. 12 plus hours off my skin, off my clothes. Overall projection 2 to 3 feet without the whole, so pretty well done in that department as well. A very interesting take on an aquatic here. Definitely something that I was very pleased with, and I'd probably give this one about a 8.0 out of 10, because to be honest with you, on my first wearing of this, I did not like it at all. But then I gave it a second wearing, tried it again. I was like, okay, this is a lot better than my first time. So I'm going to give it a little bit higher than Penguin, 8.1 out of 10. And same that goes for Penguin. I would be on the fence about buying a bottle of this. This would work all year round, I would say. But, of course, in the spring, and then possibly this might be a little bit too cloying in the summer because of that saltiness in that opening, but it is refreshing as well, like I said, when it dries down. But it does pack a punch in that opening, and it is like a realistic water vibe with this one, so you have to be careful with that one. Not with that one, with this one, of course. But if you do like your aquatics and you like a very different take on an aquatic and kind of being realistic, definitely check this one out. Seahorse, like I said, 8.1 out of 10. Enjoyed my time with it. And then last but not least, from the house that I have currently, this is Dragonfly. Dragonfly here. So let's hop into the notes of Dragonfly. We've got grapefruit, basil, angelica seed, ginger, rice, and then you got aquatic florals, geranium. You got jasmine, mimosa, orris, rose, violet leaf, and then you got rainwater, moss, patchouli, tonka, vetiver, benzoin, and cashmerean. Now, Dragonfly here, some accords in this one to my nose, green, floral, and aquatic. This one reminded me of a walk in a park, kind of on a spring day when it's raining, and you got some lily pads by you, and you could just see the water hitting those lily pads, or excuse me, the rain hitting those lily pads. Sorry, not the water. Of course it's water, duh. But rain hitting the lily pad and the water, and getting that kind of fresh vibe from the springtime, smelling the grass, smelling the flowers from the rain, and kind of that wet, damp feel if you've ever been to a park during the springtime and rain coming down and being by a lake or a pond or something like that. That's what this one reminded me of. Overall, green, floral, and like I mentioned, aquatic. Performance on this one, it lasted about 10 plus hours off the skin, off the clothes. Projection, 2 to 3 feet with this fragrance here. Overall, this one I would give about a 8.1, probably same as Seahorse, 8.1. This was very enjoyable. It's very, it transforms, I guess what I'm trying to say. Sorry, I'm trying to think what to say, best way I can do this. But this is a very peaceful fragrance, a very calming fragrance. Overall, this one is one I was going back and forth in my head. I was like, man, is this better than what I'm going to give it on the video? So this one might change with future wearings, and I might have to get a full bottle of it. But this one here, out of all the freshies, it really was one that I was like, okay, we got something here. We're getting green, and then we're turning into florals. It was very unique again. Kind of going back to Seahorse. I know there's stuff in that aquatic vibe that can kind of give off like aspects of Seahorse, but this one was a very different floral in the sense of it going green and being more realistic with those florals as well. and just giving me those vibes of being at the pond when it's raining in that springtime and seeing the lily pads, seeing the water, or seeing the rain. I said it again, seeing the rain hitting the water. Overall, like I mentioned, great fragrance from the house overall. I'm glad I got to try a Dragonfly. And this one was like the macaw. I wasn't originally going to get this one, but I was like, why not? A little bit too floral for my taste. I will say at first when I wore it, but I grew to enjoy the florals a little bit more. I always got to be careful with floral fragrances, just depending on how they lean. This one I would say is very unisex, though. Very unisex. I wanted to get that out there and just say this one can be very enjoyable for a male or a female, of course. But yeah, everybody, that is my last fragrance here in the Fragrance Discovery video over at the House of Zoologist. I kind of mentioned in part 1, let me know what your favorite is. Let me know out of these 6 which one you really enjoy a lot. I'll be very curious to hear. And what do you think about the House of Zoologist overall? I really enjoyed my time. Like I mentioned, there were some that were 0 out of 10. There were some that were kind of in the middle. But then there were some that were very high. Nothing really broke that 8.5, 9 for me. But overall, some very enjoyable scents that I got to spend some time with and try out. And I know now which ones are my favorites. And I definitely want to get to Chameleon. That's the only one I was thinking like, oh man, I really wish I would have got a sample. But let me know how many fragrances from the House of Zoologist that you own, or how many samples that you have, and which one's your favorite. Like I mentioned, I'll be very curious to hear. And thank you for sticking this long throughout the video for me. Can't wait to try out other houses this year. And it's been an exciting time for sure. I will see you all in the next video.